Welcome back. We're looking at the gray box level again. So this is the default level. I'm going to go in here and load up the one I've been working on. So you should have a blockout gem underscore your initials to learn how to block this out. And I wanted to be 100% sure that if I middle mouse click, it's going to pan, right, and zoom around. But to measure, if you go up here to the 4 viewport mode, go to top viewport, so right mouse button to pan, middle mouse to zoom in and out, left mouse button to select things. Selecting things in the 2D viewport is way easier, you guys, if you have things aligned a certain way. Like I want to grab this row of windowed wall pieces here. I could do it from that angle. I could come over here and do it from the other angle. You can, we'll go through that some more detail. But if I pop open the top viewport and then go to the view mode, so these are the Alt 2 through 6, right? So lit and then unlit. So if we go to lit and then zoom in here, and then middle mouse drag just to make sure these are exactly 1 meter increments, right? So if I middle mouse drag click here and drag across, you'll see right to the middle is 50, so it's 50 centimeters. And then if I go to the end here, that is 100 centimeters, is 1 meter. So these are indeed 1 meter blocks that we are dealing with. So think in meters, Americanos. I got used to it over the years. I just go back and forth, so kind of like going back and forth between 3ds Max and Maya, or going back and forth between Unreal Engine and Unity. So you just kind of get used to this stuff. So let's make some more fun, interesting levels and decide like what we're gonna do here. So right now my player speed's pretty slow, so I don't want to get into that interface. I just really want to focus on. So keep it, a little small. Don't build your first one like keep it small and interesting. Like don't have to do anything too crazy on here. So if I go in here to the staircase, let me grab the staircase right here, and ooh, I'm gonna do that. There is visibility, hide selected, show only selected, show all actors. So H to hide selected, Control H to show all actors. So if we show only the selected, we want to remember to hit Control H to unhide everything else, right? So show only selected. That shows this one here, and it actually went down all the way down to the face level that I selected on that brush. I didn't realize that would happen. So let me deselect that. Let me just grab this whole stair brush right here, and once more right click. Whoops. Get the stair brush. Visibility, show only selected. There, it'll do the whole thing. I guess that's just how it's gonna roll. That's not as helpful as I was hoping it would be. Lit. Okay, so Control H. I was hoping we would just be able to see that by itself and not anything else, so that we could quickly put this local dark gray or local gray instead of the grid. So if I click, undo that. Let me just drag this guy on there. Yeah, it's gonna do every face. That's annoying. Grr. I was hoping to be a little faster than that. There's a way in here to put it on all of them, so I'm showing you guys a little bad technique right now, but I just want to get these videos done so you guys can get jamming on here. And in a perfect world, I'd have this whole thing already set up for you, but this reminds me of Unreal Engine 2, like back 20 plus years ago when we had to really use the BSP geometry was our core level. Like all levels are built just using BSP, and then you would very so we're looking for, you'd have to be very efficient, make a super efficient and kind of stingy decisions for where you would have hardly any polygon. So the first characters only had mitts for hands, so there was just a mitt palm with no individual fingers on the hand, and there was a thumb. That was a big deal, having a thumb. And then you might have 1,500 triangles tops, and nowadays that's like nothing. That's like a pickup weapon. It's your sword can be 10,000 triangles, as opposed to the entire character being 1,000 or 1,500 triangles. And then the number of bones was also extremely limited. That's why we had mitts. So the number of bones in your rigs is still one of the biggest inhibiting factors to how detailed you can make the characters. So I'm just going through here and putting this material on everything, and that way we get underneath here, have to go to unlit because it's shadowed. There we go. And then I have to go around the other side here. So just checking all the size and from the top. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So go back to lit again, Alt 4 for that. And now if I go in here and click this one, I put the dark gray on there. Maybe I should have put the grid local. I think I put the wrong one. That's all right. It's a staircase. All right, so if I make a copy of this, so Alt drag it from the move gizmo, right? And I think the stairs initially were off grid, so I think I'm in the 5. So I just want to make sure this is absolutely on the main grid. So if it's off grid, I hate to go down to 1, but at some point you have to, and just get that sucker on that perfectly. And then we go back to 10 grid. And now if we, it looks like I was off still. Interesting. Okay, let's go back to 1 and pull it over again. And let's go to the top view. Let's make it even more straightforward. So we'll go in the top view, and we don't need lit, so we'll go wireframe. And we'll go F on the keyboard, so we'll zoom that in. Looks like I accidentally clicked off of it somehow. There we go. And then F on the keyboard. So right mouse button, and then right and left mouse button lets me zoom in and out. And just checking, you want it on the main grid lines here. So I'm going to just go to the move tool here and get it on that main grid. There we go. So that now is on the main grid. So I think when they published it, they made it off grid a little bit, which is kind of annoying. And I can see the main grid line over there. So let's back it up all the way to the main grid line like so. Oh, that's the blue mesh. I'm sorry. So go back to 10. And there we go. And we could even go, let's see, we go up to 50. And yeah, so that's good. So it's staying on the main grid up to the 50 centimeters, right? And so let's even go up to 100 and see what happens. So, oh, at 100. So at 1 meter now, finally, the stairs are completely in. So it's 1 meter, 2 meters across, so roughly 6 feet across, and then 3 meters times 3, so roughly 9, so 6 by 9 feet. And you can go into the side view over here and take a look at that as well. Pop that over, so it's 2 main grid snaps as well, so it's 2 meters tall, so roughly 6 feet. Should be the average height of a human. So if we were to walk next to this, the top of our character's head should be right at the tip of that staircase. So all these scale issues, what we're doing here, this may seem tedious, but the reality is that the scale is the first thing that you struggle with. Scale is the first thing that gets off for beginners, especially if you're learning to do scale accurately is something that takes a very long time for most people to understand. Like what is big, what is small, how tall is the Parthenon, the Sistine Chapel, if you want to do temples and silos and military bases and residential buildings, what's the average height of a door, what's the average width of a window, and things like that. So all the recipes and the documents I'm giving you right now, they all cover that. And so really take that to heart, because you have to know this stuff. If you don't know real world measurements of common items, your levels are going to be weird. You're going to have things be uncomfortably off, like having uncomfortable anatomy for a character or creature, or having uncomfortable perspective for a drawing or illustration. So that should work now. So if I grab this guy and now I scale him, I hope I put the right material on all those faces a minute ago. Let's see. Yeah. There it goes. So now I can scale that out, and you see the grid stayed the same. And the dark gray one that I picked on accident, local dark gray, I meant to grab the local gray, but it's okay. Local dark gray. Can change that later. Does work. And so if I grab my player start, where was I starting at last time? I think I was way over there. And sometimes it's easier just to grab it in the outliner, so definitely get comfortable with grabbing things from the outliner. I'll just drag it over there real quick, hit play. There we go. And no problem at all. And then I mentioned a minute ago, 2 meters tall. If I stand next to it, it's almost precisely the head height. It is for the collision capsule. I can see the little red wire on there. So those are the measurements. I just know them right to heart. But if you get that down to your memory, then that'll help a lot. So if you want to make a second level right to this, so that is something that I think is important to try out. Like when you're first blocking in your first level, let's do a second level for this thing. So I'm going to just drag this over. And we know that 2 of the main grid blocks here is how tall those stairs are. So I know right here I need 2 stair heights, right? So I just grab this staircase and bring it over. I'm going to try and keep it on the grid just for to be thorough. And once I get that on there again, let me get that back to 10. And let's Alt drag that staircase over. And yeah, those snap perfectly together, and try and drag it up like that. And if I need a block, if it's a case staircase, encased bottom to the staircase, then we'll close that off. So whichever one you click last, so hold down Control to add and click the next one, that's then the last thing you add is going to be the pivot point. So that's also important to know. And we'll talk about moving pivot points later in the game. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know if I bring it to that corner, it should align perfectly to that wall. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meters. Grab that, bring it over, and right there, let go. And I am wrong. I'm not wrong. I just put it in the wrong spot. It's right there. That's 6 meters, and it is aligned perfecto mundo right there across the side. And if it does flicker a little bit, if there's a little Z fighting that happens in there, that it can adjust. If you're going really fast and you have Z fighting, you just grab a little, I call them hider pieces or pipe shove. You can just pipe shove a little piece over the top. A threshold piece is good to have handy if you want to do a threshold piece. So let me just grab this flooring piece here, and I'm going to drag it over, and we're going to, scale it way in. Not that much, so geez, that was pretty. Why is it going so crazy? It's intense. So we'll make this much smaller, and if it doesn't pop like crazy on me, there it goes. And then see, when I go left, when I do the y-axis on there, it like snaps in a very not okay type of way. Let me rotate it 90 degrees then. And yeah, on that particular axis, it likes to jump from 0.25. Maybe it does it for the other one too. It does. Okay, so it doesn't like that for that particular piece. So if those floor pieces are no longer cooperating nicely, let's go over here and grab a typical little 4x4 wall piece right here. So this is the wall piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to replicate it. Okay, I'm going to bring it over, and I'm going to rename it. So I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to name this floor instead of wall. And we're going to call this smother and 01. And so I don't want to put individual sizes for all these pieces just yet, because that's just too much work, because we're going to make so many pieces. And right now we're just getting you comfortable with the interface, right? So I'm going to grab that wall piece, hit F on the keyboard if I get lost in space, bring it over. And the main thing for the floor piece, if we're switching a wall piece into a floor piece when we rotate it, is that the pivot is at the top. So right now the pivot is at the bottom of the piece, and we want the pivot at the top. So because we want that to be flush with the ground. There we go. So the pivot should be at the top. And that should work very nicely now. So if I scale this, it's not going to jump on me nearly as bad as it was a second ago. And then I come over here to the wall, and I can see it's off just a little bit. So if I pop this over, yeah, that worked. Okay, good, good. And then bring it up to the, between these two here, right for the stairs. And I fought doing this for a long time. Like I was more of an artist. I thought I was, at least at the time, than a designer, and so I didn't want to do this type of level design, this real simple blocky stuff. I wanted to jump straight into like really beautiful pretty stuff. Oh, there we go. So it's intersecting right there. So there's your Z fighting. again, right? So let's just drop that down to 5 again and bring it back a little bit. And there we go. Bring it back to 10. But man, I wish I had gotten it over it sooner, because this is like so much faster. You can get your idea blocked in. And the main thing is what's so super important for everyone to remember. I know I say super a lot, super duper important, is that your team can prototype quickly. And so the designers, the level designers, need to be prototyping the levels and need to be blocking stuff in so that the artist can keep developing the visuals design and doing drawovers and making models that fit within the grid that are going to look good. And so that the coders, even more important, the most important thing as you're doing this to remember, is that the tech team, the people making the blueprints, need a block-in ASAP. They need block-ins to test the game mechanics. They need to test the nav mesh for the AI bots. They need to test the all of the movement, the core movement controls for your character have to be accurate. So they need to know, what size windows your character. If you did like a little smaller dwarf character or a wide, like I have a little mushroom character with a wide giant mushroom cap head, like a sombrero. He's not going to be able to fit in through any windows that are more narrow like this. Like that's a wide window. He's not going to be able to fit through this window if I have him regular human height, like 5.5 feet to 6 feet tall. So there we go. So that worked. That should work really nice. So now I can take this piece here, and if I want to extend from it, let's rotate this around 180 degrees. If I rotate it over there, and I want to scale it out away from the wall, it's better to have the pivot point next to it, right? So at this point now I can go over here to the top view, and let's blow that up and keep it in wireframe mode. There we go. And it's right here. And I forget where that piece came from. What are they? Yeah, so just clicking it. See how easy this 2D viewport, they don't show it much anymore in any of the newer videos, but let me just click out. Let me just delete that. But this is how we used to work for many, many years. I wonder professionally. I see these official videos from Epic, so I know people still do this. So I hope this is super useful. So there we go. So now you'll see the scale. The increments of the scale stay pretty well snapped to 5 to 5. Right? There we go. So it goes out, and then don't worry about stretching, because if you're not sure, you can go to unlit and you can see the grid just fine. It's not stretching. It has the panning texture. So I go do my path to go this way. It looks like maybe it's getting off a little bit at a certain ratio. It looks like it was fine at first. Maybe not. Oh, okay, I had to zoom in. And then if I want an intersection here, so you can see when the grid gets off, you just have to zoom in and it'll update. So then I can take this and hold down Alt and just drag that to the end. Make sure it aligns nicely so I don't have any gaps or snags. Snags, so getting your scale right is probably one of the first most important things. And then after that, I think, do another 90 degree. After that, getting snags and making sure you don't have any clips or irregular places the character can get trapped or the bots can get trapped. I'm going to alt drag this, and you can see pivoting from that corner how nicely things align together. And if I drag again, or go to move, alt drag, bring it over here to the other inside corner right there, and then spacebar, and then drag it around another 90 degrees. So now I've just made a nice little intersection that crisscrosses above, and I can go from unlit to lit. And you'll see that detail lighting. It's not showing the shadow, which is a little surprising. I thought it would cast a shadow, but I guess it's not. It does in the 3D viewport, though. I thought lit would show in the orthographic, but I was wrong. So there we go. So now you have a little secondary ramp going above, and you know that the height is going to be correct because it's 2 staircases high, which it also matches your wall height, which is 3 meters high, which is roughly 12 feet tall, right? So now if I go over here and hit play, and I want to, well, this is really slow for the default. That's all right. And jump up here. Just don't fall off. There we go. So now I can see over there and I go, whoa, and jump. Ah, barely made it. Look at that. So I know that was perfect. That worked out just right. So I know if I go up a single story, 4 meters high, and then I have that separated over here from exactly 4 meters. So 4 meters high, and then 4 meters to the side. That's this line right here, which is the alignment right there. So you can see 4 meters high, 4 meters wide. That if I make that jump and I timed it just right, if I go here and I hit spacebar and I did it right, say I failed there, so let me escape and hit play again, that I would just make that jump. That's crucial, critical information to your level design. You got to know what your jump heights, jump distances are, right to the edge and right to the edge. Perfect. Just right. And then if I come under here, I'm not going to hit my head going under the bridge, right? So now you could do some second tier stuff. And the AI bots all have to have that same knowledge and logic, right? So when you get to where you're doing your line of sight and you want to like come up here and kind of see, who's up there, peek over the top, see, when someone's shooting you and you drop back down again, crouch or hide behind. So that's where you might look at some of these other textures under the materials, your grid cover and things like that. So let's take a look at that. So if I go over here and grab a wall height piece, so for this one, I'm going to grab this piece right here, go to move, and go to the alt drag and drag it over to my little arena, battle arena that I'm making here. And so after I do that, I'm going to grab this piece. So this was a 2x4, and for shooting purposes, let's make it a 2x1. Right, so I'm gonna, if you click second time slowly, there we go, 2x1 underscore cover. And actually, let's go wall underscore cover underscore 2x1. So this is a 2x1 cover piece, right? So if I'm going to use this as a cover piece, what I'm going to do is make sure, I'm going to see if I can get this back on 10. It looks like it's off. So while we have it in 5, let's make sure everything's aligned to the big piece. Keep everything just big for now. You can do slight adjustments later. Try and keep everything up to 10 centimeters. That's 1/10 of a meter. That'll make life a lot easier, and then you can always finesse and fine tune later. So now that I have that done, I'm going to go grid cover onto that, and that's going to, because it's not a BSP brush, it is actual static mesh. It's going to do all of the sides, and if I'm not 100% sure when I'm looking, hit F on the keyboard to recenter. If I look underneath, you just go from lit to unlit, and you can see, yes, it is doing the same thing underneath there. And now I have this little cover piece. Oops. So for the cover pieces now, I might push this over like that. And see, it's Z-fighting. That means it's sharing the space perfectly. That's good to know. And now I can bring it up here. And now if I bring it over here to the side of the stairs, like that. So 1. And then space bar, go to the rotate tool, hold down Alt. And Alt drag to the rotational, 180, go back to spacebar to move, and then bring it to the other side. And I'm using these little dashes here, the halfway marks, to help me get there. And yeah, it's still off a little. So I don't know, maybe this could be a little bit better design on there, but I'm just going to kind of run with this. So now I know if I'm coming up the stairs here, and let me grab my player mover again, player spawn. If I'm going to spawn and come up that staircase, now I know that those are meant to be my cover pieces, and that if I come up behind him, like if someone's over on this part of the ramp over here, if there's a bot patrolling there, or a cannon, or whatever, and on the other side, I know as a designer, maybe not for the player just quite yet, but as the level design is going through, I know that those are meant to be covers, so I can kind of come behind them and maybe peek around them a little bit more before I expose myself completely and run across that ramp and give people clear line of sight. And we don't have crouch or any of that stuff added in here yet, but we'll get to that point. So that's good to know, right? These are our cover pieces, so let me escape out of there. And now as I do these, the wall times 2 times 1, and then it does times 2 times 2. That's not going to work, right? So what I got to do here is I need to come up with the numericals. So if it's going to be by 2 by 1 piece, this is actually bad naming convention they provided. It needs another underscore, and then maybe 0, 0, 1, right? And then if I go this one up here, I click it a second time slowly so I can get into the naming convention, cov 2 by 1, underscores 0, 0, 2. There we go. And let's see what happens now if I duplicate this. If I hold down Alt and I drag it, yeah, so it did the 2, so it didn't honor the 0, 0. So, little nuance there that I had assumed would work. It's been a while. That's what I do in Maya, so I think it's more of a Maya thing. So if I come down over here, and you should still be able to go location XYZ RGB equals XYZ, goes 0 and the height. There we go, and then maybe spin it around 180 and just keep it like that, and that way I know it's going to snap on the grid right. And that way I know if coming around the door here, this is also it's a little mini wall, which is actually a cover piece. Now, if I push it like that, and then we scale it out once, and then bring it over, if you want a little cover piece like this, it's good to make them a little bit bigger so there's no Z fighting happening right there. So that way it's kind of can wedge in there a little bit. And this is called pipe shoving. If you just want to shove them through each other a little bit, as long as they don't Z-fight too close, like within more than 10 centimeters, you should be okay. When they get really close down to 1 or 2 centimeters, they might still flicker. They don't have to be perfectly sharing the same space to flicker on you. So I got that done. So I'll go in here, Alt drag from my cover piece, so bring it over like that. And we have a jump piece right here. So for the jump piece, let's try that out. So I'm going to grab another one here. I'm going to just shift drag. Let's see. I don't know if I put these floor pieces. I meant to put these floor pieces into the floor project folder. So let me, if you go right click on it, go to edit and cut. We'll go to the brush geo. We'll go to floor right here, arena floor, right click and edit and then paste. And those go in the same spot. So that's your quick way of, well, that didn't work. What the heck? Huh. Should have. I gotta slide up here, the middle mouse, so as I'm dragging to floor. There they go. All right, yeah. I think consider that a bug. Like I should be able to click on that folder, right click, and copy and paste directly into the grouped folders. So that should make grouping very easy. So Epic's kind of dropped the ball on some of that basic. The outliner should be much better, more usable like it is in Maya. And I think even Unity has like, you know, the prefabs and whatnot. Like the world outliner should have a lot more grouping and movement and flexibility than it does. But anyway. That's just me complaining. Wah. So the jump grid here, so if I wanted to have a jump grid out here, that's going to specifically allow me to do that. So I'm going to grab this floor piece and I'm going to alt drag the floor piece over to the side and make sure that it's still staying the main alignment for me. So once I do that, let me go ahead and scale it down as well so it's a little closer. Okay, so the floor piece here is let's rename this one. So we're going to rename this guy. So, and if you needed to, you would be able to go into the edit, rename F2. So it has like a weird slow click. You click it once and then a second time. I forget how many seconds has to be, but it's pretty annoying. So floor smaller, and we'll say jump. And I was also thinking like platform, something like that, right? So and you don't want the names to get too ridiculously long, or they will give you an error. So there we go. So now we can go jump X. I'm not 100% sure. I think XYZ. So jump X might be the side jumping, or it could just be X as a generic. And so now let's test this out. So we'll test our jump height, jump distances. So if I know this thing can only do 1, 2, 3, 4, let's go to our top view port. So come over here and max that out. There we go. Grid snap still set to 10. Zoom out a little just so we can see some of the larger and bigger ones. So we know if I want to jump across here, I'll need to have it be for the very max. And I hate when jumps have to be at super precise, and especially the starter game. I find that really annoying. That no death by learning. You shouldn't have to learn like to have to do super precise jump in the beginning of a game. So this brings it out to 4 units right there. We go, and then back. It gets off a little bit again, so we'll go back to 5. There we go, and then back to whoops, 10 again. Yeah, if you turn that off on accident, screw the whole thing up. Don't turn your grid snap off ever when you're gray or white boxing. Just keep it on. There we go. So now I should, if I make the jump just right, I should be able to go out there, and then I can alt drag again. 1, 2, 3, and then maybe go halfway, so you could do like a 3.5 jump, which is this line right here. And if you need to, you can go to the right to the corner, middle mouse drag right across, and you'll see the measuring tool 350 instead of 400 centimeters. So 3.5 meters instead of 4 meters. That is the main. This is like core level design theory right here, you guys. Like getting this these measuring distances down right, and then making sure that your testing is spot on. So let me test this again. Go in here, hit play, come in here and jump. So when you do your Lara Croft, you got to know what Lara's. You don't need much of a running jump here. You just got to make sure that you have some kind of jump. Let's see. So boom. Yep, not perfect. Try again. And this is me jumping just a barely too soon. So we'll see if I fall off this time. Oh, and I panicked and didn't stop and jump again. So I did just barely jump at the edge, and it did successfully land. So this is where you want to have that, how forgiving is your level? How forgiving is your game? So let's try this again. There we go. Back up a bit, and then the second jump is much more forgiving. There's no feather in your cap. It's not honorable as a game designer, level designer, to be proud of how ridiculously hard your game is. I'll say that for everyone that's still learning and getting good at this. Like, yeah, see now my barriers don't work too well. Like, I don't want to have a snag on the jump here in between and get caught in between. That's bad level design, right there. So if I can go between these two, no bueno. So this is what you're learning. This is what you want to know. So let's pull that out a little bit. Let's pull that out a little bit. So enough space maybe to hide behind and dodge, but not enough to snag your collision capsule. Right? So this is, go ahead and paper map out some ideas and make a fun little level. So just get it done. Don't make it big giant. If you make a big giant complex, please just make sure it's done within the time you have so you can move on to the next. Because we still have lots of other fun stuff. We have spawn. We want to change your jump heights. We want to change your speed. We want to change your. We want to do boosts, pickups. We want to do doors, levers, keys, movers and platformers, and we want to do the death volumes that make it and respawns and have checkpoints. So those will be coming up next after you get this gray box all done.